Today's Lockdown Rescue webinar features Joe Cuthbert, one of my Millionaire clients. Yes, another Millionaire client. I have over 80 at the moment that I'm aware of, and I'm interviewing him on how he's dealing with the current situation. He has got some empty properties, he's got some serviced accommodation properties. Find out how he's dealing with his challenges at the moment. Watch this webinar. So, very good evening to everyone. Welcome to, forget where we are now. This is week 4, day 3 of the Business and Property Business Lockdown Rescue interviews with different people, some of my clients, some industry specialists. Tonight I'm delighted to say that we've got Joe Cuthbert who's speaking to us. Good evening, Joe.
Good evening, Glenn. Good evening, everybody else.
One thing I love about Joe is he's always got a bright and cheery demeanour no matter what. You have such a happy voice.
Yeah.
Right, so...
You're the first to tell me that.
I've looked at your longer bio and your shorter bio. So... At the moment, you say you have around 26 units?
Correct, yes.
Value between 3.9 and 4.3 million, with about 1.8 million in equity.
Yeah, maybe a little bit more, but yeah, that's relatively conservative. But cool. Yeah, it's something like that, yeah.
So, as per most interviews, I'm going to talk to you about where that came from, how that came about, when you started in property, and then I'm going to ask you what's affecting you, what's changed at the moment, and then if anyone's got any questions as we're going through, please feel free to type them, and then round about past we'll start doing question and answers. So one thing that amused me is that you said if you had a degree, it would be on annoying the neighbours.
Yeah, when I was younger, I used to DJ and make a hell of a lot of noise. And I would have passed that degree without me studying, mate, that's for sure. I could have run a nightclub from my flat, the amount of speakers I used to have in it. So, yeah, I had a lot of fun, really did. And still continue to do so.
Yeah, for definite. I couldn't say, quite politely say, that you're not the hardest working of my students that I've come across.
No offence taken, mate. No, nice for living. Yeah, I know I could have done more deals and be in a stronger financial position than I am now, but also you got to. Maybe I do sit back and enjoy it a bit too much. I had been up until a while ago and I thought I had to do something. But yeah, nice to live in. It's a big world, there's lots to see. I'll tell you what, a lot of my dad's mates, they worked all their life and a couple of years after retiring, they were died of cancer.
Yeah.
And that's no bloody good. Get out there and have some fun. I don't know till I'm too old to go and walk the Great Wall of China or anything, just look at it from a wheelchair. No. Can have some do these things. That's my kind of philosophy on life.
Yeah, I know you tend to work for a couple of months and then go on holiday for 2 or 3 months at a time.
Yeah, no harm in that.
No.
I'm supporting local tourist economies, so.
Of course, and why not? So tell me about your first dip into property. What age was you and how did it come about?
Well, I was a bit late because I mucked around DJing and stuff. A lot of my mates had proper jobs and stuff, and I was a bit late to the arena. But I was a bit envious in a nice way. Yeah, I think about 25 years ago, I just bought my first place, little one bed in Brixton before Brixton was uber trendy, and 5% deposit down. Sold loads of my belongings just to raise the money and eventually did it. And I bloody loved it. Not long after that, I traded up to a 2-bed down the road. And then after I think prices have gone up a bit, I had some equity, and working like a dog, doing two jobs almost. I got into IT and got my first bite enough deposit for a buy to let, and and that was been about 20 years, no, about 18 years ago, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a bit less.
So yeah, there's definitely a common
yeah,
denominator with the people that are more wealthy and coming a lot from not so much the cash flow but the capital appreciation. So when did what year was it? Because you came on my property course when it was a 1 day and it was a same day refinance training that we used to do, going back 2004, 2005.
But the first, I'm sure you remember the first time I came along, it was a 5 day thing when it was in Bletchley.
The 4 day, yeah, okay.
Oh, 4 days. Right?
Yeah, so.
Not bloody 5 day.
I love you too. Yeah. So what year was that have been?
Oh, I don't know. I'm rubbish with years, Glenn. But that one, that's about a decade ago. I'd say about
2000. So recession had happened, and it was like what to do. So, what happened after that?
Yeah. So prior to that, I bought a couple of gaffs in London, and using the Empty Homes grant, which was very good. But I wasn't really flying or anything. But I had a bit of cash, and I've been looking at the town of Hastings in East Sussex for a long while. It wasn't too far from where I came from initially, and a few of my friends had moved down there. And I was looking at the house prices, thinking, bloody, is that for real? Because especially compared to London prices.
Yeah, of course.
And there's bargains to be had there.
And it was certainly a below market value area in the to when I was buying my portfolio, and in the early days of my teaching, Hastings was one of the top picks to choose.
Yeah, I believe you. Yeah, it's been a buy-to-let hotspot for a long while, and so I think armed with a bit of knowledge from you, and also confidence as well. Instead of buying a little one bed, borrowed a bit of money off of a mate, and went and bought a huge block with with 10 flats and a shop in it, 6 stories high. Had an order from the council to say you got to tart up the front of it because it's bringing down the rest of the street. Mm-hmm. I think we counted about 15 individual leaks in it. And I bought it in an auction. I've never bought in auction before, and it's bloody nerve-wracking. But I bought the bugger, and it was pretty hairy until I got the keys, just getting the finance because we overran. But yeah, that was the springboard. That's what set me up. That one. I eventually, I don't know if you're aware of this, ended up selling it to. But I just say no. I paid 352 for it. Sold it 2 years later for 762, 768, something like that.
Right.
So a tiny little profit. And the buyers have actually been on your course as well.
Yeah.
Old students.
Yeah, I remember the helping out with the negotiation between the pair of you.
Okay, yeah. So it's a small world. So did that, and during my ownership, I had refinanced it. So got the money out and went off buying more blocks around Hastings. Just breaking them up, splitting title, and just selling them. Some of the units didn't even need anything doing to them. No. Some were pretty good nick, others
just the legals.
Like
yeah, going back to the strategy that we run, which I call the sum of the parts is greater than the whole. So you buy one unit, split it into units, and sell them as smaller bits.
Yeah. When you sold them all, you still got the freehold to sell on the bill. So that's another nice little greasy bonus at the end of it as well.
And then
So
a couple of months ago, you reappeared out the woodwork and rejoined you actually joined our mentorship program, and that's when I found out you'd become who for notice I'd found out was you were our 82nd Millionaire client, which was really cool. So still waiting for the bottle of champagne though.
Okay, I'll get one to you then. I would have bought it, but it was because of the COVID lockdown. I didn't see you.
So there we are. So what have you been doing more recently since coming back onto the mentoring program, and what made you join it when you were already a millionaire?
Yeah, I've been doing all right, but reason for joining was I felt I was losing touch. I was out of touch with regulations and stuff, tax changes, and stuff like that. And also, I'm very good at spending money, and I need more, basically. I want to do some. I just wanted to get back into it. You know, I've been laying low because of Brexit. I was thinking about investing in other countries, and I just haven't done anything for a while. And well, for a couple of years, I've sold some bits and done very little, just living off the rental incomes. So I figured, you know what? I think it's all right to buy stuff. So I listened to a couple of your webinars, and then went up and saw you guys, and I raised my concerns with you and chatted amongst your group and stuff, and realised that maybe I've been a bit of a cowardly custard, and it probably wasn't such a bad time to invest at all, and I probably missed 2 years of fantastic opportunities. So I thought better put my finger out.
So that was a few months ago, and you've done just that, and you've done a few deals since then.
Oh yeah, straight away from going seeing you the first time. I went and put an offer in and had it accepted straight away on a property, and then that completed within 2 months, and I think within 3 months I'd already bought another two, so it's taken 3 months of seeing you. But yeah, they're good flats. I can't buy blocks anymore because there's no money in it. I haven't found any, shall I say, that have been good money. So it's been snapping up little one beds on the seafronts at very good prices. And each one's got between 40 and 60k in it. And just figured, make them pretty, that's what I do, and put my funky furniture in there, make them look great, and sell them on. And if they don't sell, I've got them on bridge to term products.
Mm-hmm.
So if they sell quickly, I just keep them on the bridge. If they don't, I'll flip easily and cost-free into a term product, and I can keep them for a bit longer, do my Airbnbs with them until they do sell. I've also gone off and I've got another three, almost 4 in the pipeline, which I'm having trouble with because of the bloody lockdown, trying to get in back gap valuers, etc. But basically, I'm going for it then.
Cool.
It's solid. We financed a couple of other units, and I've got money to play with, and I just realised that I could have earned my projections were to earn about 300 from these flats within the first 6 months, and I really sincerely think I could have if it wasn't just bloody lockdown. And this is just a few. There's loads of stuff out there. That's just in my little area.
Yeah, I know you've bought some.
And other countries as well, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I'm not a great believer in buying in other countries unless you want a holiday home. Unless you do lots of research and you totally understand the area. So I know through the weekly webinars you've bought a few deals and a few things over recently. So everything. So what would you say has been your biggest challenge since lockdown? What's actually what's stopped? What slowed down? And did you have any projects that you were in the middle of refurbishing?
No, thankfully. There's one which was near the end, and the boys finished it off, so that's good. So no, I am stuck with a couple of empty units. I'm stuck with one gaff in London where I should be getting about, I think it's about 1,300 a month, 14 rent. And I had a tenant ready to blooming well move in, and because of lockdown, the agent said they can't do that. Oh, we've discussed this, haven't we?
Yeah.
And I'm still waiting for them to pull their socks up.
Yeah.
So that's it. And, I'm down on quite a bit of rentals. And also, I wanted to sell a couple of these units. Summer's here, and great weather is here,
Mm-hmm.
and it's really good time for selling stuff. And I've got good products, they're just sitting there empty.
So do you think that for somewhere like Hastings, it's a good idea to buy in the winter, do up, get ready, and then sell in the summer?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. Actually, don't tell everyone. I hope this is just between me and you. Nobody else is listening. Then.
Yeah, it's less than 1,000 people listening tonight.
Oh, that's all right then. But seriously, yeah. If you know the area, you get a lot of people come down throughout the area and think, oh, that's cheap, and they come unstuck. You've got to know the town. You've got to know a good street from a bad street. And after a while, you be here. I've got to meet and good relationships with a lot of agents. They even tell you what's a good block. They say, oh, that's a dodgy land, dodgy freeholder. There's sharks in that one. Oh, that's a good one.
Uh-huh.
So you've got to have your wits about it. Same with everywhere, really.
Yeah.
But there's still, I would say, yes, there's still opportunity here, as I think there is a bit further on the coast in Bexhill, Eastbourne, all this little patch along here. There's still opportunity.
Yeah.
If you get the right thing.
Yeah, I know Ian, one of my other clients, has got somewhere in Eastbourne that he bought using the vendor finance strategy that we've talked about, where it was on the market, I think for 840, and we offered him $1 million, and he put 250 back in on the purchase day, giving us our deposit money back basically, but he bought it in shares into the company. So banks are all happy with that, and now Ian's just paying him back out of itself. So certainly something that's interested in doing if you can get. But actually, the question for you is if turning guest houses and hotels into HMOs was always very profitable. Now people are doing serviced accommodation. It's basically you don't need to change it because the guest house is serviced accommodation, isn't it, basically?
Correct.
Okay. So how do you get funding on a guest house? Because you've never been able to get bank funding unless you're actually moving in as the person running the guest house.
To be honest with you, mate, I'm not 100% certain because I've actually bought a guest house. I bought Airbnbs or like short-term lets, which most lenders say they will not take on.
Yeah.
I even got called by Shawbrook when I was applying for something. They've done diligence on me, and my broker said, Joe, you've got full-time tenants in these properties. And I was going, yeah. Shawbrook have just been doing a bit of research. They looked on Airbnb and seen their own bloody houses on there. Oh dear, this could be a problem because I've got quite a few mortgages with these guys. They just turned a blind eye to it, and they are thinking about changing because of me, changing their protocol and the terms, and also bringing out special short-term rental products. Because they know everyone's on it, especially after changes to the tax.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a pain because, like, guest houses, I think the old business of running guest houses is probably pretty much something that not many people want to do, but everyone seems to be quite happy with the buzzword of serviced accommodation. And I suppose that's just a guest house that the landlord doesn't live in.
It's true, yeah. Obviously, there's specialist lending for that, for like hotels and things. Um, but I'm not too sure about the finance side of that. But I
No,
do agree with you. I do feel that the days of the guest house are over. And if you do it really cheap, there's still be some people, but they're nowhere near as popular.
mhm.
And I think the only thing to do it is smarten them up and do them more high end. Is
Yeah,
the only way. I
yeah,
think.
more boutique hotel, guest house type things, or service accommodation.
That's the word I was looking for. Boutique, yeah,
Yeah,
make it
it's
boutique.
much
Then they will
trendier.
come.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
much trendier. Okay, so yeah, because they can see all the pictures, can't they, on Airbnb? There isn't really a finance model unless Shawbrook are going to come up with a product which allows you to do that properly, because most people buy them and put them on HMOs, rent out some of them as HMOs. But in seaside towns, there's not that many of the properties that are guest houses that the council will allow to be turned into HMOs.
I got you. Yeah, makes sense. I like that. Yeah.
Certainly, the one in Eastbourne, Ian borrowed from Shawbrook, but he ended up, I think he's got about 35 rooms in it in the end, and it valued at.
Oh, it's a bit of a beast.
Yeah, it's one. It cost him nothing to buy it because we overpaid the owner, and the owner then bought shares in the company, which Ian's buying back out the cash flow. So that's a model that might work great for down where you are. So what else has been your challenges?
I've done that. On one of these three which I'm buying, I'm paying extra and getting cash back on it as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. It's a good one, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, that's just it just reduces your deposit, helps your cash flow, and it just allows.
And also at the end, there's cap gains as well.
Yeah, for definite. Although just a bit more stamp duty at the front.
True. Yeah.
So what's been your biggest challenge since lockdown? What's been the mess up with your business?
As I said, just buying these places, can't get valuers. I've got, as well as my buy-to-let portfolio, I've got obviously the short-term rentals or the Airbnb, Booking.comers, and I was a bit concerned, thinking, hang on, I've got 6 units, and I'm not allowed to have any guests. What am I going to do? I phoned up local letting agents, and they said, we can't do anything. And I said, well, bloody hell. I thought, I just wanted to AST them for 12 months. I knew it was going to be in lockdown for 3 months, and predicted we'd be in lockdown for 3 months, maybe longer. By what time we'd be halfway through the summer, which is when I make my most money. Then I've got it dwindles off towards Christmas, and it's dead January, February. So I figured just give them 12 months AST, and then forget about it. But I couldn't do it. Then I figured I'm not going to go on some websites and say flat for rent and just get any old people, because I won't be able to do the proper credit checks. And I've been burnt by bad tenants so many times I can't be asked or soon after empty. But eventually I kept getting requests coming in from Airbnb saying, would you be interested in doing long-term rentals? And I'm going, hell yeah, come on down. So yeah, I've got a few people fleeing London. I've got some.
So they've got out of London, which was the hotspot for the COVID thing, and gone down to Hastings, where it's mathematically safer.
Yeah, it's safer, and if you're in lockdown, they can walk and cycle along the beach. It's far nicer. They've got sea views. It's sort of like in London, you're rarely going to get a pretty good view, And apparently, one of the guys was saying it's getting pretty aggressive. I can't remember where he was. It might be somewhere near Kilburn. I don't hold me to it.
Mm-hmm.
But he said like people in the shops are getting really aggressive, and there's like bad vibe on the streets and stuff. And he just wanted to get out. And I don't blame him. I think he's done the right thing. It's far nicer down here. But so that's a couple. Then I've got had some doctors drafted in, one from Edinburgh and one from somewhere else, and they're working working at the local hospital. And so I was left with just two voids, and started getting emails in from lower ranking hospital staff, should we say, saying they're in lockdown. They can't go back to their own homes because their family's there.
Mm-hmm.
There's some lovely woman, she's a nurse up at the hospital, and she can't see her family, And so said, have the place, have it for £1 a night. That's the minimum you got to take some money. So so I've got two of them in, and it's nice to get back a bit, I guess. Since I'm still making money from them, and so it's not too bad. And saying about the pitfalls, so that's the bad things, but there are good things as well, Glenn. I touched on saying about what's the 10K thing the other day.
Yeah.
The Small Business Grant Fund. I've got a couple of friends who have already received this. I spoke to my very good friend who's got a letting agent, and she knows quite a few landlords who have got this. And I'll just read out a little bit from the government website. Under the Small Business Grant Fund, all businesses in England in receipt of small business rates relief or rural rates relief as of the 11th of March will be eligible for payment of 10K. We estimate this would apply to some 730,000 businesses across England. Then it goes on. If you're paying more than 10, if you're paying more rates, you receive up to 25K.
So does that?
There's a ceiling of 51K on it. So if you're paying any more in your business rates from 51 grand, then you don't get anything. And that really hurt my missus because she's paying 54 grand a year. So
if you're saying, so if you've got a void property that you're paying rates
I'll say that again, sorry.
So if you've got a void property that you're paying rates in, does that qualify you for it?
I don't. You know what? On the application form, there's nothing saying, is it empty? Have you been affected by it? It doesn't. It just,
obviously.
I got an email. I got a phone call from the council a few weeks back saying, can we have your email address? You've been. Hang on, let me tell you. Bloody mouse gone. Saying you have been identified as a potential recipient of one of the two grants recently announced by the Chancellor to assist businesses during the COVID-19. So they were actively contacting me. They know what I do, and they know it's an Airbnb property. They never asked if it was empty in the application form. So
but as an Airbnb, you'll be paying rent. You'll be paying rates anyway, won't you? Like an HMO, you'll be paying the rates on an HMO.
Yes.
Yeah, or council tax. But if you have tenants in a single let, and I'm just thinking about the people that have got single let properties and no HMOs, and one of them's void at the moment, and so therefore they're having to pay council tax or rates. Does that qualify for the 10 grand grant, do you think?
I wouldn't say if you're paying council tax. I think it's only to do with
the commercial business rates. Okay. Okay. All right. Cool. Thank you. Right. So.
That's one other little helping hand. If anyone else who's out there is doing Airbnb, Airbnb set aside $250 million, I think, to pay people. Can't find it now. 250 million people, $1 million to get hosts 25% of their lost, so 20 or 25% of their lost bookings revenue for bookings that were cancelled between March the 14th and May the 31st.
Okay, so pre-booking.
So I haven't looked into that, but again, that's another little helper.
Yeah, for definitely. So, got some questions for you from different people. Victor said, and I'll answer this for you, Joe, okay. Victor says, is Hastings still a hotspot? No, definitely not. It's definitely nowhere to invest, and you shouldn't go there at all. Is that the right answer?
100%, Glenn. Thank you very much. Next.
Okay.
No, yeah. If you know the area, same as every area, you can make money, but it's hard with hard. The prices are rising, and there's gentrification. It's not as I'm certain there's other areas that are far better. I really do. You can't make money on rent. It's hard to make money on renters. Airbnb is saturated. It really is. And if you're on about quick flips, yeah, it can be done, but use caution if you don't know the area.
Yeah, so you just got to know your area, haven't you? Okay, this is more of a statement than anything from one of my more recent mentees. So thank you very much, Stephen. He says, Joe, you could have sent the champagne via courier.
Is your middle name Stephen, Glenn?
No, it's
yourself.
No,
yeah, what one to do that?
His surname is Franklin. Jerry's asked, what type of property is the block? Yeah, what do you mean by a block?
Well, the blocks I buy were residential blocks.
So it's a bit like America, where
lots of different flats in.
Bit like America, where whole blocks trade hands rather than individual units within blocks. Hastings seemed to have been somewhere where there were, and it's more bigger old properties, isn't it, that have been converted into flats as holiday flats, but have never really had their title split.
Yeah. I think about 20, 30 years ago, before it used to have a really bad reputation, and there's lots of big houses. Before that, it was very posh in the Victorian days, so lots of very grand buildings, and they've just been carved up over the years by landlords, just sticking a fire door on and saying that's a flat, and so there's a lot of big blocks, and quite a lot of stayed in the same landlord name and families for many years, without being carved up and sold on individually.
Okay.
So yeah, just generally residential. There's not too much about the commercial units really in town. It's a big residential.
And it's like anything that. It's like anything. I was talking to an agent that I've just done a deal with and bought a 1.3 million plot, and he was telling me about a few opportunities that are coming up in office blocks. He's had a few phone calls from people over the last few days thinking of disposing of office blocks, which he said to me are prime resi to commercial conversion potential. And
you say resi to commercial
commercial to resi. And look, if the deals are any good, I'm going to grab them, and a couple of his other clients are going to grab them. They're never going to go on the market. So unless you're in the know with the agents, you ain't getting the deals. You know, when you're established in an area like you are in your area, they're going to be ringing you first because they know that you're good for the cash, you do what you say, and you're efficient in the buying, and no doubt you've got an arrangement with them anyway.
Yeah. And also I've got a deal where if ever I sell them, I use the same agent I bought it from to sell it back to through them, so they get repeat rate.
Yeah.
So they get two deals out of it, and they like that. And if I rent them back through their lettings arm. So I've got good rapport with nearly all of them actually. There's a couple with not really cheap, nasty, shiny suits, which I can't stand.
Don't tell me they're still 15 and work at the weekends only.
That's the one.
Okay, so
if you hear about their deals, send them my way if you ain't taking them, mate.
Cool.
I'll be keen.
Right. Palmetto says, Joe mentions he finishes units to top spec. Does he have a set design he does in all properties? and what does he tend to spend on a refurbishment. So let's pick a typical 2-bed flat or 1-bed flat that you buy.
Well, everyone knows there's no such thing as a typical, but generally I try and do the minimum that I can. I've kind of, you can spend ages searching for colours. Think, does that shade of blue work there? What does that mean? So I've just I've wasted so many days of my life just working it out. I've got a palette now. I tried on the last one actually. I tried changing the colours, and no matter what shade it was, everything looked bloody green in the whole flat, even though it looked different on the paint shops.
Yeah, I mean,
but yeah, I've got the same palette. I've got. Basically, I found out the best place to buy wooden flooring. I found the cheapest wooden worktops that look good. I know what colours. And once you go to all that effort of like finding the cheapest or the best suited products to put into something, you're a bit foolish. If you want to go and start all again and change it.
Yeah,
You've got a model that works.
I know when I was doing my first.
Same stuff.
I know when I was
but
doing
also you've got to read the unit, and think if it's a dark one, you've got to do this. If it's a light one, you do that and stuff like that.
And it's also a price bracket thing. I remember the first few refurbs I did, spending ages going to the tile shop to choose tiles, going for the kitchens and all that. And then in the end, I ended up creating a list. So you buy if it's a certain budget property, you put not laminate, you put vinyl down in the bathroom and in the kitchen, and this is the one we use. This is the worktops. I put the splashbacks in instead, and in the bathrooms we use bumpy whites. So you put the standard bath set in. I think it's B&Q, but they've got a full bath kit that you can buy for about £300, which has got all the bits in it that the plumbers prefer. And it's something I give to all my mentees. Here is a list. Like if the doors, if you need replacement doors, get them from Howdens and use these door handles, and it's cheaper than painting and redoing doors and all that stuff. And just standardise the whole thing.
That's invaluable. I wouldn't say valuable, but it's such a big assistant. It's so useful.
You just give it to the builder.
So I would use your list, or get in your car and drive around every door shop, spend ages on the phone looking for doors, and do the same with door handles, do the same with tiles, do the same with every component that needs to be replaced. And if you lost the bloody week.
Yeah, and if you actually are using the same tiles on every single property, then it doesn't matter if you have surplus tiles.
That's true as well. Yeah, and if one gets smashed, then it's easy to replace and stuff. Yeah.
So
I'll tell you something actually. You say about having a formula. It wasn't too long ago. I had an agent phone me up and say, "You've been cheating on us." What do you mean? That place up on X Street. That's not yours, isn't it? It was just come on the market. And I go, "Yeah." I go, "How did you know?" Because it's your colour and your tiles. And I've got with a different bloody agent, haven't I? They wondered, you could tell just because of my style.
Yeah. Okay, so Victor said to me, could you very quickly explain about the overpaying system for property? Okay, so Victor, basically, based on a cash flow basis, so it doesn't work in Brighton or higher value areas, it works in the low value areas particularly well. When you're buying a property, you'll normally buy it on a cash flow on a bricks and mortar basis. Quite often you can do them up and refinance them, and when you refinance them, you take them on a cash flow commercial mortgage rather than a bricks and mortar mortgage. Now, normally when you're buying a property and the cost per bedroom is under 15 grand, you can do, which quite a few of my clients have done, refinanced them and got more money out of them than what they started with. But rather than doing that, what Ian did and quite a lot of my other clients have done, they've literally got what I call vendor finance. So for a property that was on the market for 840. Ian put in an offer for £1 million, but requested a 250 grand investment into his company that bought it, but then offered to buy the shares back over 100 months at 2.5 grand a share. So the bloke who was trying to sell his property for 840 got 750 day one. Although Ian bought it for £1 million, he put 250 back into Ian's business, leaving him 750. So he got 750 day one. And instead of picking up the difference between 750 and 840, he's now picking up the difference between 750 and £1 million. So he's happy. Ian's happy because he gets quite a lot more cash flow than his costs, his bank costs, his running costs. The 2.5 grand a month cost is still left with 2 to 3 grand a month profit on something that didn't cost him anything. It's actually something I saw how Bill Glazier bought Manchester United. He'd recognised Manchester United had quite a high asset value and he bought it and then refinanced a lot of the asset value within Manchester United and then lent it to himself. So when he bought Manchester United, he then lent himself more cash than what he paid for it in the first place. I loved that it happened and then tried to look into how we could do that with property. And that's what I come up with. So I've got quite a few clients that have all had more than 100 grand cash back on a deal. And it is something, it's one of the strategies that we teach on our training programs. Let me just go and ask. So Jason says, do you find Airbnb more profitable than renting full term?
Yes. Simple.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. Admittedly, I've only done it in places where I bought purposely for Airbnb. And some of my buy-to-lets, I wouldn't get the customers, because they're like ground floor, no view, and a bit out of town, away from all the pubs and the action and the sea. But if you get the right formula, yeah, I would recommend it. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
But not just Airbnb. Go to Booking. Go get yourself on all of them, all the channels.
Okay. Andrew says, my regular solicitor broker can do nominee option idea, but prefer to use your professionals as you get kickback from your idea. I don't actually ever get any kickbacks from them, but they just look after me from my deals. Can you provide a recommend now? Is this something you may cover at the weekend course? What I do, Andrew, because what's happened historically is the expression came about they've been glenned, because when I do or start recommending someone, all of a sudden they get absolutely swamped and puts them in a position. So now what I tend to do is just keep the solicitors that we do for people on my mentorship program, and that's kind of how I do it, so that they gain a reasonable amount of work from us, but not it's all my clients. So that's kind of how I've been working. I have a friend who wants to buy a share in my buy-to-let property. She was declined as a joint applicant on a mortgage. She's not a homeowner or earning 25 grand salary, so bought on my single name only. Alright, so I don't think this is a question for you, Joe, so I'll read it out now. I have a friend who wants to buy a share in my buy-to-let property. She was declined as joint applicant on a mortgage as she's not homeowner or earnings 25 grand salary, so I bought on my single name only. Now, my mortgage company, TMW, won't allow her name to be added to the title deed as a second charge, meaning she can't invest in my buy-to-let property as originally planned. Any suggestions on how she can invest in my property and own a share of it? Avi, can you jump on, put your hand up and jump on, so put your hand up so I can find you in my list of everyone who's on here. I think I've just found you. Here we go. Right, I'm going to actually ask you some questions. So, Avi, if you can unmute yourself. Let me ask you a question. Have you bought it in a limited company?
No.
Okay, because that would have been one potential way, just giving them shares in the company. Okay. Okay.
Change lender.
Yeah, I was actually more thinking, From a security point of
There's
view,
a 15k penalty to change.
yeah, so you've got an early redemption. For an early
Yeah.
redemption, yeah, okay. Look, although lenders don't normally like second charges and they don't always give you permission to put a second charge on, you can put a restriction on. So if you had a heads of terms between yourself as a business arrangement, she can put a restriction on the property, which means if ever you sell it, she gets whatever the restriction has been entered on the restriction. And you could even do a loan agreement around it as well. So if there's a loan agreement around it, with the interest on the loan being whatever you've agreed as a share of the rent income, would that work?
We did speak to a legal solicitor about it, and they're talking about a loan agreement and a unilateral.
Yeah, an RX1. Yeah, that's it. A restriction.
Right, but they said it wasn't foolproof for her, so she thought she might still have, in the future, maybe that risk that she doesn't own the property. If anything happens to me, then.
Well, the lawyer you took the advice from saying it's probably someone advising her.
Yes, it was her, yeah.
Okay, all right. So, whereas a charge on the property, it's like having a big sword. Okay. A restriction is like having a shield. Okay. So it means she can't force you to sell it. Okay. And if you're not paying her the money on just a restriction that you're supposed to be paying her, she can't enforce anything or do anything. Only when you ever sell it does she get her money back. If you have a loan agreement for the figure, where the heads of terms between you is such that it triggers, if you don't pay what you're supposed to pay, that the loan needs to be paid back. And if the loan isn't paid back, she can then take you to court and force a sale and stuff. So I would say that the lawyer she asked is probably not creative. I think they're just more old school.
Right. They said that's what she wanted, what she said in the future, because they said it's not foolproof, that if there was anybody contesting it or didn't want to pay up, or I didn't want to pay up, or my estate didn't want to pay up, that she didn't want to go through the rigmarole of taking me or the estate to court to say, I'm entitled this amount.
Yeah. Now the other thing could have been that you, rather than giving her rental income, actually employed her. Okay. Because if you employed her, that would then give her more income, which would qualify her for the loan. And she would have been able to go on the loan at the beginning. It's the type of thing that whenever my students come to me with a deal, what I tend to do is I'm working out on a deal by deal basis the best way of doing it. I don't think there's any rinse and repeat model that tends to work. Everything needs to be structured around its own unique circumstance, and most of our deals are done around vendor circumstance. Okay, but yeah, unless you get her to speak to another lawyer who's a bit more creative. What's the actual objective? What's she putting into the property? She's buying a share of it for how much?
Well, she wanted to buy half the share. So I put in 150k deposit.
Yeah.
She was going to be putting in half of that, 75k, and was going to get a joint mortgage. But there's only a couple of lenders that were sort of interested in TMW being the main one.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, when we did a joint application, they declined a joint application because she wasn't a homeowner and she earned less than 25k. She worked part-time. So they said, but because of our small portfolio, that we could lend you on your own. So I did So kind of, the idea or the thought was, well, I'll purchase it on my own and then get her name added onto the title deed, sort of thing. But TMW refused that.
Okay.
And that's why I was told about a loan agreement and a unilateral something.
Unilateral notice,
Yeah. And but because I think the lawyer advised her that it's not foolproof, like I said, myself or my estate or whatever could refuse, and then she would have to go to court or whatever to recover her interest in the property. But I was just wondering if there's any other way, like the other ideas or suggestions that it could be foolproof for her, that she's not having to in the future go and go to court to get what she's entitled to.
What would you do with the cash if she bought half a share with you? What would you do with it?
Well, either look for another property or maybe extend the one that I bought.
Okay. So you could use that money for that and get creative around that. And if you find something that you can use that cash for, so one other thing I do for my students is come up with a structure that will work for everybody. Okay. And there's nothing to stop someone employing somebody legitimately, paying their tax and national insurance, or even taking someone on as a contractor. You can take someone on as a contractor on a contract, and lenders will lend off the contract. So, maybe if you were to give her employment and then she bought the other one, you can have a swap of the charge across the two, and you both have RX ones and both have.
So I suppose if she became a contractor, then they'd want to see proof that she's receiving.
Well, you'd have to pay her, but what you're doing is you're paying her based on the rent income she would be getting.
Right.
Or something equivalent. So, all right.
Okay, thanks a lot.
All right, cheers then. Sorry, Jason. Jason's asked a question. Hi, Joe. Do you find benefit in buying the one beds, flipping and selling them on? Well, if you're making a profit, I'm assuming that's a benefit.
Yeah. Well, make benefit. Well, make money on it.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
so,
But get the right ones.
Yeah, so there you
That
go.
definitely means comparison to like buying a 2-bed or a 3-bed. If it makes money, then I'll do it, mate.
Yeah,
simple as that.
It's just all about the numbers. Have you been able to do any on delayed completions where you've exchanged, done the work and sell them on and made the profit?
I have in the past, but not with this batch. No, not recently. No, I've done very well on it before. Very well, but not recently. Yeah.
Okay, and the 3 days, and I think we're at a whole £97 for doing the 3 days via Zoom. Louisa has asked a question that's more of a mentee question. Louisa, she's one of my mentees, so I'll talk to you on Tuesday if you want to ask me that question. What's happening next, Joe, with you? Where do you see the market going after all of this?
Good question. Let's have a little think. I think rental's going to stay the same even after Christmas with Brexit. People are still going to rent. They're still. I don't think the prices are going to drop. We might see a bit more DSS clients, or quite a lot more in certain areas for periods. Regarding short-term lets, I think it's just only going to gain more and more momentum. I think that it might be I think once the travel restrictions are lifted, it's going to bounce back. I'm a bit concerned about foreign travellers visiting the country. I think that will take longer to bounce back.
Mm-hmm.
And regarding house prices, I feel I don't know. I'm in two minds about that. I feel that it could bounce back pretty damn quickly. I think prices will stay the same, but I think there's going to be less buyers. I don't think we're going to see too much of a dip. I'm anticipating, and the ones that I do want to sell maybe a 5%
Yeah,
drop. But
that's where my money.
areas, they're strong. They're holding strong, and I think they will.
Yeah,
It's just I think there might be a shortage of first timers after this crisis.
yeah,
After Brexit, I think I'm not too sure, but a minute I think up until Christmas, I think we'll be all right on that.
okay. And final question I'm going to ask you is how you got round the Section 24 with the reduction of interest rate relief with a portfolio that you had in your name.
Yeah, to be honest, I didn't really. I've sold a few of the units, and anything I buy new, which is going to be a long-term buy-to-let, just stick it in the company. And then it's fine. I've looked into transferring them to my company or set up a new vehicle of some sort, but we've got the cap gains problem and stuff like that, and stamp duty. I'm sure there's probably an intelligent way around it, but I figured I'll leave it for the minute. I've been selling a few more this year, and I'll just take a hit on it. Some of them are quite high yielding, so you get your first 10k, first 10 or 12 grand tax free anyway. So I'm just going to ride it. I like these properties, and it's inefficient to transfer them. I don't want to sell them in a minute. So I just sit it out. There's nothing I can do.
Have you got them being rented out through your own letting agency before it then goes through, and so you're pulling out some of it through rental agency fees?
On most of them I have, yeah. Not my own one though, sir, no.
There you go. There's something you can do straight away. Is have your own letting agency. They go through. Some you sublet for less to somebody else, but charge yourself. Probably get away with 15%, and then you're pulling something out that can be taxable. But again, it's just speak to an accountant about setting that all up. Okay, thank you very much, Joe.
My pleasure. Thank
you for joining us this evening. Thank you for sharing your the current situation and yourself about what's going on for you in the market. We have a gentleman listening this evening called Jonathan Berlian, who's actually going to be speaking to everyone tomorrow evening. So I'm looking forward to hearing very much from Jonathan. Let me just unmute Jonathan for 1 second. Are you there, Jonathan, and listening?
I am, yes.
Okay. Could you just give everybody a 30-second
Yeah, there's one error, Glenn. I'm not speaking tomorrow night.
You can't
I'm moving an aeroplane from Stansted to Farnborough, so I apologise, I can't do it.
Okay, you're all right for Friday.
But I'm rescheduling it with your gentleman.
Okay, that's absolutely wonderful. Thank you very much. Right. Tell me about this plane you're moving, Jonathan.
It's an Embraer Phenom 300 mini jet. It's a 10-seater. So I'm just moving it from its home in Stansted, ready for charter clients, which will be coming in at 8 o'clock on Friday morning to fly out of Farnborough, because it's got special permission to fly.
Cool. And that's been one of your challenges on lockdown, is the flight restrictions.
Flight restrictions, every restriction under the sun, Glenn, we've had it. But, to be honest, you need a bit of paper for everything you do. But it could be worse. We're very lucky we all live in England, because I had a Facebook Live from a lovely man, actually, who was washing my boat in the south of France. And he turned his camera around and he showed me these blokes walking down the Marina Quay with M16 rifles and tracker dogs. So, it could be a lot worse. We don't have that kind of stuff going on here, thank God. So, yeah.
Brilliant. All right. Well, thank you, Jonathan. We look forward to chatting to you on Friday.
But I will be with you next week. And do you want me to tell these lovely people what I do?
Yep, go on, far away.
Okay. Hello, folks. My name's Jonathan Burliand. I've been doing property since 1976 when I bought my first shop and upper parts for £15,000 with my car cleaning funds that I earned cleaning people's cars when I was 15 and a half. I also got a small mortgage to pay for it because I didn't have all the cash. So I've been doing this a long time. We've gone through the recession, very similar to Glenn. I'm a bit older than Glenn, but Glenn is probably a better trader, dealer than I am. I've gone on over the years. We've acquired quite a few. We have over 2,800 rents coming in a month on our stuff. So we're doing this quite a bit. I have trading businesses as well. As Glenn and I were laughing about this the other day, my plans for escape with all this materialised to nothing because, all my plans of escape and holiday homes and stuff, we're confined to our place. I look really clever sitting on a computer talking to you now, but we are, on the positive side, there's a lot of positives we can all draw out of this. I mean, the suffering is horrendous and it is absolutely, it breaks my heart to see, the challenges the NHS has got and the problems with all the old people. And, anything you can do to help, we try and help. But the one thing that's come out of this is people are sitting at home, and my internet company, and if you want to look at it, folks, have a look online and see what we're doing and see a picture of me, www.carouseldirect.com, CARASELLE, direct.com. I run a global internet company. We are selling a product every 14 seconds. And my problem in this lockdown is that, like a complete moron, I furloughed 35 people back in March when you could, because we were not doing what we should have been doing. Our sales fell off a cliff, and suddenly people have woken up to the facts, the shops they can't go to, so suddenly everything's online. And our sales, I'm doing over £500,000 a week from bugger all. So, we've got logistical issues. We've defurloughed all our people. We're recruiting new people to come and join us to do more packing. Our robot factory is busy because I use robots to manufacture our pet rollers, which I sell throughout the planet. I'm basically a sticky roll brush salesman by training and by what I do. And every pound of profit I've ever made, I've invested it in a flat. And that's all. We just play the game. And as I said to Glenn on the phone the other day, there's very few people in a recession that you really want to ring up. And I won't mention the other three I mentioned to Glenn on the phone because it's not fair on him because he's very good. But apart from those other three people, Glenn is probably my go-to friend if I was on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. He's not a 50-50. He would be my go-to friend because he's got a unique skill set in spotting a deal and spotting an acquisition. And he can run it. I mean, he has got... just so you understand a bit about Glenn, because, I'm just a humble pilot. I've been flying airplanes all my life. We work on instruments. We work on flight plans, progression, beacon markers, and everything else. And, Glenn has got a three-dimensional brain for a deal. Like my wife has a three-dimensional brain for doing interiors on flats and making them look beautiful. The gentleman who I heard I was listening to what he was doing, he was having difficulties with his colour schemes and he didn't know what to do. Well, I don't do any of that. I let my wife do it because she's fabulous and she's just got a three-dimensional brain. Well, Glenn, he has a three-dimensional brain for deals in terms of maths and the numbers. Sorry about the squeaking. A little chap here is playing with his funny toy. You've got the same, Glenn.
All right, Jonathan, look, thank you.
That's what we do. And I hope it gives you some idea of what we do.
Yeah,
but,
brilliant.
Give them a hands up if you want me on. Tell Glenn if you don't want me on, because it's easier for me if you don't come. But
no, Jonathan,
Enlightening
anybody whose biggest challenge in lockdown is not being getting access to any of their boats, or that they can't fly their jet, is someone everyone's going to want to listen to. So we look forward to speaking to you very soon.
I'm very grateful for the honour of being on your programme, Glenn. Thank you.
Thanks, Jonathan. Cheers. Okay, so we look forward to speaking to Jonathan very soon. Until then, I wish you all a very good night. Most important of all, stay safe and take care.